Hey friend, welcome back. My name is Lucas. This is Produce Perform, where I teach you how to mix better live worship recordings. I worded that terribly. Anyways, welcome. Today I'm going to talk about mastering the mid-range of your mixes. And in doing that, it will kind of highlight both of the highs and the lows. So I'm just going to start off with a quick thing from one of my mix mentors that I received a while ago, and it didn't click at first. So whenever he was talking, he said, "I don't really worry about my low end frequencies ever." He's like, once I kind of get the mid range all sorted out, this low end sorts itself out. And I didn't get it. I literally thought he was a lunatic when he said that. I was like, why are you big? Like, why should I be listening to you? Because this, that was just crazy to me. Like, it didn't make sense to me. So, but it was maybe like a year or two later where I was like, I couldn't get the mix right. It just didn't sound good. And the low end was so messy sounding. It wasn't tight. It wasn't punchy. It was just bad. And so I went back and I just sat on what he said, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. Worry about everything else." And so I went back in and I really tidied up. Once I went and tidied up the low mid area, then the low end just sorted itself out. Because really a lot of the punch doesn't come from that 50 hertz or 40 to 100 hertz. It's more of like the 200 to like 500 is like there's a lot of punch there in your mix. And a lot of that I was just getting rid of because it didn't sound good. And so let's just dive in real quick. And I'm just going to run you through a few examples of stuff that I used to do that would make your mix sound hollow or lose punch. So let's go in here. So just for example, let's just throw a Pro Q on. One thing that I would often do is I would do stuff like this, where I'd be mixing, and I would do this on a bunch of my channels, where I would solo it, and then I would, I would be listening to whether a guitar, a bass, or whatever, and I would do something like this because it sounded so good whenever it was in solo. And then I would do that to, some version of this to all of my tracks. And as you can probably figure out, it sounded terrible. Like the mix would never sound good. It was like missing something. It was missing a lot of things. And so I actually have this on the master, and so I'm just going to show you guys real quick. So we're going to turn it off, and this is "Good on Your Promise." This is a song I mixed a couple months ago. I will link it down in the description if you guys want to listen to the full song. But I'm just going to bypass this, and then we're going to throw it in the mix. I forgot to put my headphones on. There we go. Okay, here we go. So that was I think that was my final mix. And then if I turn this on, getting rid of a bunch of mids, which is basically what I would do on every track. And see, that's just bad. So whenever you do something like this, it seems good in the moment, right? Like it seems like it's bright and sparkly and full on the low end. But then whenever you kind of put it on the whole mix, you're like, it's not very good. And one big thing about this is whenever you scoop all these mids out, it's not going to translate across multiple speaker systems, headphones. Like people are using AirPods or little boom boxes, or they're just listening literally straight from their iPhone speaker. And if you can't tell the difference between the guitars and the synths in your mix from your iPhone speaker, then you have a mid-range problem, okay? And it's all just simplified by EQ. And so I'm just going to run you guys through a couple of examples of what I mean. So as you guys probably know, in drums, most of the drums, there's a boxiness that happens somewhere around like in between like 250 and like 500, okay? And so if you're pulling out a bunch of this, in your drums, right? Which is totally okay to do. Do what you need to do to get the sound that you need, but do it within the context of the mix, not in solo. This area then needs to be filled with something, because this is really, these low mids are super important. So your bass guitar and your electric guitars, maybe even your acoustic guitar keys, synths, they need to be like, something needs to be filling that area. And that is just something that like, it took me forever to do, because in solo, if you solo any instrument and you boost around 300 to 500 hertz, doesn't really sound good. But if you do it within the context of an entire mix, it starts to sound really, really good. Like, it starts to sound really, really full. And so you just have to be very conscious of it. And so when it comes to instruments, this like 250 to probably like 1K is very touchy, and it's very, very important to have your mix sound full and organic and real. Because as you guys probably heard earlier, whenever I had that scoop out, it just sounded like the mix was like fake. Like, it just sounded like it was almost like, I want to say overproduced, but that's not the right word for it. It just sounded like someone over EQ'd, right? So it's way too, trying to be too polished, and we don't want that. And then the next thing in the mid range is this like 2K to like 5K range, or 1K to 5K. This is where your vocal presence is going to get really tricky, okay? Because a lot of the time there is something honky in 1K in vocals, but you don't want to get too much, you don't want to get rid of too much of it, because there's a lot of power there, and there's a lot of that frequency that really kind of sticks out. And so you got to be conscious of that, of like, maybe pull 1K out of the background vocalists, right? But then in your lead vocal, come around like 1.5 and give it a little bit of a boost. And this, a lot of this stuff is you really have to sit down, and even if you need to throw a high pass filter on to like 5K or something, somewhere like 6K or something, and then throw a low pass filter on to like 150, maybe 200, something like that. And let me get rid of this guy. That guy. Okay, and then if I play it here, then now you can actually see where there's a lot of points here that are sticking up, that are really kind of convoluting your mid range, and that this gives you an actual picture of what's actually poking through, and what's going to poke through on all devices. This is like, don't like ignore this trick, because if you're just not getting your mix to sit right, this is something you should throw on your master and then see what sounds bad in that area. It's similar to mixing on like crappy speakers. Like, if you can get something to sound really, really good on crappy speakers, because all you're really hearing is the mid range, right? You're not getting a lot of low end. And then once you get this, once you kind of get the mix sounding good with these parameters on, I bet you once you bypass this, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it sounds so huge, because you kind of get the full picture back, but everything's carved against each other really, really well. So back to the 1 to 5K range is like, man, that's where the presence and like the actual, that's, because the ear is the most sensitive from 2 to 5K roughly. Everybody's ears are different, but if you get that, like that area is very, very important, because that's where we hear the most. So if you want a prominent instrument to stick out, if you want your lead vocal to really stick out, if there's something you really want to stick out, 2 to 5K is where people are going to hear the most. And so you need to make sure that what you want in your mix to be on top to sound great is phenomenal at 2 to 5K. And then your mix is going to be, I'm just telling you, it's going to get so much easier once you kind of get that area sorted out, and don't carve out too much of the low end. Don't mix in solo anymore. The only time I ever recommend mixing in solo is the vocal, because the vocal is the most important, and it needs to sound the very best that you can make it. Everything else can kind of just be mixed in context. Sure, the drums a little bit, kick and snare, you can solo around, but for the most part, man, just do your best to mix with all of the instruments happening. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer, especially the mid-range. And if you guys don't know where to start, I have a cheat sheet down below. Is a mixing cheat sheet, absolutely free. Just go pick it up. Super easy, and it's going to give you a bunch of starting points on maybe where to cut, where to boost, just in case maybe you're confused. Maybe you're like, I just don't even know where to start. Perfect starting point. And then you know what? I think that's it, guys. Like there's not much more I need to say about this. Is that once you get this mid range figured out, the rest of the mix usually figures itself out. And yeah. And I also want you guys to know that next week, I'm actually going to do a full mix breakdown on this song. So I will play a little bit of it here. And yeah, so next week, be on the lookout for that. It'll be probably like an hour-long video or something where I'm gonna fly through everything I did here. Look at all these guitars, and we're gonna dive into everything I did. And one thing that that you guys don't like, you guys will find out on this, is these were some of the hardest vocals I had to tune, or not tune, sorry, process. There were some issues on the recording that we couldn't get fixed, and so if you guys want to see how I tackled that, be on the lookout. So hit subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week. I hope God blesses you this week, and I hope something miraculous happens to you this week. All right, guys, I almost forgot. I need to show you guys part of the mix. So this is the mix we'll be going through next week.
I am praying with expectation, 'cause I know you're good on your promise. Eyes are open, Lord, you have spoken. You are faithful now and forever.
So cool. I will see you guys next week. Full mix breakdown. Let's go.